Hi, good morning. We're doing a little amigurumi back today. It's a little bit back-to-back amigurumi. I don't normally do that, but I've got a few ideas building up to Halloween, Christmas, etc. But whether you celebrate those times or not, how can you not resist a cutie little bat there? I mean, bats are very special little animals. I think they're adorable. I know some people are scared of them, but I think they're really, really cute. Great if you are decorating up your house for Halloween, but I think great to have around all year round because just look at that little face. Right, you can see he is crochet, but we have got a felt as well. We'll deal with that a little bit later. So here is the felt and a template. I'm going to try and get that template done on my blog as well, so you can copy it. But to be honest, you can make any shape. We do have our stuffing. We have a couple of safety eyes, my usual selection of needles, cotton, stitch marker, scissors. I am using a double knit yarn. I'm using a Stylecraft yarn and a 3.5mm crochet hook there to make him. So let's just get going and I'll talk you through the rest as we go. So I'll move all these out of the way. Oh yes, there's a yellow pencil. Again, explain as I get further up. So let's get you going, little fella. This is actually the second time I've tried doing this. The first time, I don't know what I did, but somehow it was coming out a lot larger. See, we all make mistakes, so don't think, I never make mistakes. I make a lot of mistakes, but I learn from those mistakes. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to do 2 chain like I do with a lot of my amigurumi. And to that first chain, I'm going to have 6 double crochets. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now into those 6 I'm now going to do 2 double crochets into each one, so we're increasing in every single stitch. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just one more, 6. Remembering I am working in UK terms, so these are double crochets. For US terms they would be single crochets, so I'm hoping I've sort of covered most of the bases there. So we now have 12 stitches in there. I'm now going to again do 2 in each one, so this time because there's 12 stitches there I'm increasing by 12, so I need 24 stitches in total. So I've got 1, oh or not, there we go, 2. I only count each time I do a 2, because otherwise your counting goes wrong. That's 3. Still goes wrong, mind. Oh, where are you going? 4, 5. See there, I think I lost count, so I'm going to have to count at the end of this. So that's 6. That's my 7th. 8. 9, 10, just 2 more. I got 11 and we got 12. In fact, look, I think I did it then. No, I didn't. I did do 2. It's very easy to get distracted when you're doing it. So I need to make sure I have 24 stitches now. So I'm counting from this side, not this side. I'm starting from the side where I finished. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. See, it looks like I've got too many already. 21, 22, 23, oh no, 24. I'm okay with that because I did count this very top one. So it's 24 stitches. I'll pop my stitch marker in now. You can use a bit of yarn if you want. These are just one of my lovely stitch markers from Rosie's Moments, my little hedgehog one. So I've still got a wildlife theme going off there. Oh, I've just seen a warning on my phone, says 15% battery. I better be enough. Right, so DC rounds, just 1 double crochet into every single one of these stitches. Thank goodness I have a stitch marker in there because I don't have to count now. There we go. Oh, maybe not. Now this little chunky bat, or chunky bat as I've called him, seems to be my son's favourite word at the moment, chunky, is a smaller version of one I've done on Etsy. The other one's sort of like a longer bodied one, so this is like the baby brother. of the one I've already done. So I'm hoping you're going to like it. I mean, for any of you that out there, let me just count that a second. So that's our first round, isn't it? First round, first round. I'm going to be good. I'm going to write it down. I'm just going to do a little mark on a piece of paper. 1, while I'm chuntering at you. This is our second one. I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, obviously my other ones I have done on Etsy. I don't think there's anything actually up at the moment. I do need to get that sorted out for the backs because I've just sold the last one. Now, if you ever do see any of my items, if you don't actually crochet but you do like something you see, or it's not something you fancy crocheting and it's easier to buy from somebody, I do have my Etsy store. But if it's not on the store, because there's a lot of doll things on the store, but if you've seen one of my little creatures on my Facebook or anything like that, and it's not on the store, just send me a message, because 90% of them I can replicate. Occasionally, if I've used a specialist yarn for something, that's not so easy. Like the doll hats I've just done, because it was a limited run of yarn. It was a hand-dyed sock wool, so I could only get so much out of it. So that's another one. I just need one more round. As I said, it was 3 double crochet rounds. But usually I can replicate it. There may be a slight alteration, or if you want a different colour, because I was actually thinking about that with the bats. As much as, yeah, this is sort of, well, it's not a traditional colour really, but you know, this is trying to go a little bit more naturalistic with his colourings. But if there was another design, another colour or something like that you fancied, you just give me a shout, send me a message. Usually Facebook's the easiest. It sometimes doesn't come through if you're not on my friends list though, so please be patient with me with that if I miss it, 'cause sometimes I have done. Just give me a little nudge to make sure I do see it. Or you can send it through Instagram as well. That's quite an easy method. But for whatever reason, if you're not actually friends or you're following people, they will actually sometimes not delete it, but you don't see it straight away because it goes into like a little separate box. Right, we're now going to actually do a decrease. So we've got the top of his head now, so we're already decreasing that quickly. And our decrease is going to be 2 double crochets together, 1 double crochet all the way around. So we have 2 double crochets together. Let me start again and remind you on that one. So we go in, we pull through. Yep. We don't finish it. We go in, we pull through. We have 3. We pull through all 3. That's your decrease. I'm going to do 1 double crochet. I'm going to decrease again. Pull it through. Don't finish the stitch. Go in again. Pull it through. We have 3. Pull it through all 3. 1 double crochet. Again, because I have actually got my stitch marker, I'm not going to overly worry about counting. I know I've mentioned before, I think the only time you have to really worry about your counting is if you're replicating things for people, because obviously they want what the original looks like, and just 1 or 2 stitches can make a massive difference. If it's just for yourself or for friends and family, it doesn't really matter. We're nearly round. So we're decreasing now, so we've got a lot less to work with already. Nearly there. Right. Again, you know, when you get to the stitch marker here though, sometimes you're like, oh, do I do another one? Don't I do another one? Because it's like that side of the stitch marker. Usually if it's that side, you do need to do another one. So I am going to do another one. Bit of a risk, but I'm going to do it. Because it's only 2 sort of couple of stitches. So I'm going to do that. It has landed slightly over, but I'm not worried about that 1 stitch. So I'm going to reposition that just to make sure I know where I'm actually going. So you can see we've got a little head coming. We're going to do just a double crochet round just to neaten off that decrease round. I think sometimes they do need, well, not neatening, but you can, if you're not careful with your decreasing, get a slight sort of lump, for want of a better word. It's the tiniest of lump, but it just looks a little bit uneven. So I like to do a double crochet round if the pattern allows me to, just to neaten it off. So we've near enough got his head. We're going to be putting the safety eyes in a minute. So I'm round to my stitch marker now. So that is it for that part. So now we need to decide whether we're going to put our eyes in. I think it's almost okay. I might carry on a little bit further. This is up to you, because they can be tricky, especially when they've got these large backs, to crochet if they're a little bit close to where you crocheted. it doesn't bother me too much, but be aware of that where you actually put them in. I'm going to do my last decrease round. It's only for 2 stitches. So we're going to decrease by 2. I'm going to do single. I've got to stop using that term because it makes it sound like I'm saying single crochets. I'm going to do individual, 1 in each, double crochets. Now again, don't overly worry about the counting. On the pattern I will have counted for you, but really it's got to be approximately opposite to where we started. So I'm going to do it there. That's going to be 2 together. And then I'm just going to do my double crochets around to my stitch marker. Like I say, I will do the maths for the actual pattern, but I don't want people getting stressed with it because some people can't read patterns. You know, they do find them complicated, and some patterns are. There's some patterns I cannot follow. I have tried, and it is really frustrating. So I do know what it's like to do that. So some people just want to follow at this point. So if you are following and it looks like I'm going a little bit fast rather than reading the pattern, just slow me down on the settings, or obviously you can rewind or whatever. So from there, I'm going to tuck that in because it drives me mad when I've got ends, and I'm going to decide where his eyes are going. Now, I've not got it written on my pot what size these are. It doesn't really matter what size you choose. I've gone for quite a large eye. You can use buttons as well, like I did with my little owls. Now, let's have a think. Where am I going to put it? I think I'm going to pop it about there. But the thing is, you can push them in. Oh no, that looks a bit low. Can you see I've just pushed it in, realised it's not right, well, it's not hurting because I've not fastened the back. So I'm going to take it up 1 row. That looks better. And then approximately where my other one's going. I followed the same line for the row. So they're both in the same line. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think that looks all right. Looks like an Alien at the moment. Now, as I was saying, these backs, because the eyes are quite large, the backs are quite large, so they can get in your way a little bit. So I'm going to try and just turn it inside out. Try and flatten it because I don't want any other pieces to get caught in it. These dome up for these. Please check your instructions, they can all be different. So the dome up, and I'm going to click 1, 2, see if I think that's too tight. No, I need another one, and 3. You will find some are different to others, so be careful with that. If it's too tight though, it digs into your yarn, and that's not a pretty look either. I've learned that these are an approximate, you know, how these approximately sit, so it's not too bad. I'm used to them. So I'm going to pop it over, dome up, got 1, that's a little tiny click that, and then I'm going to do 2 more, 1, 2, right. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It's not pulling my yarn in too much because it doesn't look very nice when it pulls it tight. Right, that's his head. But we're not going to stop, we're going to carry on. So his head and body is all in one. So that's given us where the neck is going to be. Our next round, you're going to do 2 double crochets in one, which is going to be your increase, 1 double crochet in the next, all the way around to our stitch marker. So we've got a 2, we've got a 1, we've got a 2, we've got a 1. And this is going to be all the way around. So we're getting his sort of shape on his shoulders, I suppose you could argue. He's going down his shoulders. Can you see how that can sometimes get in the way? That back, so be careful. I know they've got to be big, but it is a bit annoying sometimes when you're trying to get round them. Oh. What did I do? Was that a 2? That should have been a 2. Yeah, I'll do it again. Right, we're nearly there. So we've got a 1. We have a 2. A 1 and a 2 in 1. I think a 1. Right, look, that's pretty neat. I'm quite happy with that. You can see it's starting to turn out a little bit. So now we're going to have, oh, let's check what I have put. 2 in 1, 1 in 1. That's the one we've just done. We're now going to have 4 just double crochet rounds. Just follow your marker. You can move it up if you want, because remember we've increased now. I seem to be able to see it by eye now because I've been doing a lot. If not, it is advisable you do move your stitch marker up. So just 1 double crochet into every stitch. we're getting there. So that's our first round. There's not many stitches on this, so it's quite simple. As soon as you've done these double crochet rounds, you'll have a bit of decreasing and you'll be done. Nice and easy. So again, I'm going to be good. I should have my paper to the other side because I'm having to reach across all the time. So I know I need 4 rounds. That is my first round there. I have got a few ideas coming up towards the various sort of seasons and sort of celebrations for the year. If you have any other ideas or anything else you'd like me to have a go at making, please just give me a shout. It's lovely to hear input like that. And sometimes my mind goes blank and it's nice to get ideas that other people might want rather than things I think that people want. Oh, my yarn was stuck then, it's all right. So this is our second round. So I've got a couple of things that you could argue are Halloween based or autumn based. Don't have to be Halloween. Not everybody does celebrate such things. Alright, that's my second one. So again, I'm being good and I'm marking it down. Got some pumpkin related items, both in doll hats and sort of gifty type things. We've got Christmas coming up again. So, oh, I've got some snowflakes, because that could be argued it's winter. It doesn't have to be Christmas. It just looks pretty. We've got snowflakes. We've got some Santa's hats for the dollies. And I think there has to be a snowman thrown in there somewhere. I have to do a snowman. I love doing little snowmen. Right, that's our third round. See, I told you it won't take long. Obviously, if you know what I'm doing, you could have just fast forward. You can fast forward that little bit. Or as I've said before, if you sort of, the speed's a little bit too much, you can just slow it down on the settings. But please turn down my voice, because otherwise that sounds a little bit on the daft. This is our final round for just double crochets. You see, it doesn't take long to do. I think his body's probably one of the quickest ones I've done. Right, so I'm going to say we're round. That's near enough in line. Maybe one more with that stitch marker. Yeah, that looks about right. Now we're going to start having some decreases. It's going to be 2 together, 1, 2 together, 1. So very similar to what I've done before. So 2 double crochets to remember. Remember, you're not completing the stitch. You need 3 on that hook. You need to pull through all 3. Then it's a 1. 2 together and a 1. 2 together and a 1. 2 together and a 1. Nearly there. Because it's decreasing, we're going faster obviously, because there's less stitches to do. I reckon you could get the whole thing done in probably maybe an hour for your first one, but I think the more you practice you could get it in less than an hour. Right, so let's have a look. Can you see how this hole is now getting smaller? Because I've got to think about stuffing at some point. I'm going to take my stitch marker out now because it's going to be irrelevant to what we're doing. There we go. They are very useful things to have. And I think I'm going to stuff his head, if nothing else, first. So I have my toy grade toy stuffing. Depending on who you're giving this item to, I think it is important. I do like to fluff it up, that's what I'm doing at the moment. It is important to buy the right stuff, make sure it's got safety standards and everything. Right, something I'm going to point out, I've done this deliberately. See how I've just pushed it in? Can you see how it's pushed the back? And it's sort of distorted his face shape. All I then do is I pick it up from the front, just wiggle it around and it flattens it. Wiggle it around and it flattens it. It's just the stuffing pushing it out of place. Also, if you're not careful, you get a little dint here, because again, these 2 backs are not allowing us to get in there. If that's a problem, we get a crochet hook and we push some stuff in between his eyes. That's it. Then we can always just straighten his eyes afterwards again. It does take a little bit of fiddling that, because otherwise you can completely distort his shape. I'll put a little bit more in. I don't want to fill to the top because, especially with him being a dark yarn, I don't like it when it catches up in here. So we do have to be careful. I am going to cough, excuse me a second. There we go, I think it's gone. Right, so now it's going to just be 2 double crochets together. Every single pair of stitches. All the way around until it starts to close. Eventually we'll be completely closing it, but don't close it at this point because we do need to get some more stuff in there. Right, I think that's probably small enough now because the smaller the hole, so pull your yarn long so it's not going anywhere, and we'll get the rest of this stuffing in. So I like to leave it as long as I can, but if you're not comfortable with that, just stuff it a little bit earlier. Because I don't like the fact that it does get in my way, and if you're not careful you end up crocheting it into your yarn. All right, let's have a look. Ooh, looks like a little peanut. What do you think? A little bit more? Tiny bit more. Again, you can decide how sort of solid you want it, or how sort of soft you want it, but I think that's pretty good. That's all right. Right, so now I'm going to continue with just those 2 double crochets together. Can you see how it caught a bit up there of stuffing? It does get in the way. Make sure you're tightening up after every single one of those 2 togethers now, because otherwise you'll get left with little holes. Not holes that means it fall apart, but they're just gaps. So pulling through, tighten. So I'm just pulling that in between each 2 together, because it does get more difficult as it gets closer. Pulling it tight. Nearly there. I think that probably that's the last one, because I don't think I'm going to get any more in. I think I would struggle there, yes, because I think that's a 2 together there. So I'll leave that at that, and I'm just going to trim it off. I do need a bit more of my yarn, so I don't want to lose that onto the floor. And we're going to pull it through. Make sure it's nice and tight. Now we'll do it as we go along. I'll be good. I'm inclined to leave all my sewing in till the end, and then it's an annoying job, especially if you change lots of colours. So I'm just going to thread this through a few times, like I have done. Oh, I'm moving it out of the way again, aren't I? As I have done on numerous occasions. There we go. I think that's threaded through enough. One more long one and trim. And then we have our little body. Now, as you've noticed, mine's got little ears as well. They literally take minutes, the ears. It consists of just 2 rounds. Can you argue it's not really 2 rounds? It is, but let's have a look. So, slip knot onto the hook. We have 1, we have 2, like always. Into that, we're going to do our 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that's our first round. Into each of those 6 we're going to do a double crochet. Just 6, no increases or anything, just double crochets all the way around. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, just 1 more, and 6. And I'm going to do a slip stitch in there. If I can fit one in, I do. It just neatens it off a bit. And trim. I always leave quite long ends, but I do like to make sure I've got enough for sewing in rather than having to bring other yarn in to do it. So we fasten it off, tighten that up, and then we need to try and push it out, because it was inside out at that point, to the other direction. So we've got a little ear. We need 2 little ears, but look how quick they were. So instead of having one ready done this time, I can just throw them together for you. So we have 2 double crochets. We have 6 into it. So we've got 1, that one felt a bit tight, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then just 1 double crochet into each of those 6. It's always difficult to catch that first one. Sometimes you have to wiggle it in. I've got it. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just 1 more. Very tricky when it's this size to get double crochets in, and a slip stitch, just to neaten it up. You don't have to do one of those, that's just a personal choice. I can let that yarn go now. Fasten this off, tighten it up, and try and turn it inside out, because it's so little, it is a little bit hard. You can use a crochet hook. The only thing is sometimes your hook goes through it, so not you see it goes straight through, so it's not always the best thing. If you've got something blunt ended, it's whether it be a pencil, you've got to be careful not to mark it, but a pen if it's not got the ink bit pointing out. Right, so we have two long threads. One comes from the centre, one comes from where we fastened off. The one that comes from the centre I'm threading up at the moment because it's great for positioning. So I've got to decide where his ear's going. I'm approximately there, probably sort of centre and then to one side. But by using that, I can just pull it through, give it a little wiggle, and decide whether it's okay. And yeah, I'm happy with that. So I can take the other end, which was the fastening off end, and stitch his little ear on. I'm throwing him about a bit here, aren't I? Poor little thing. There we go. It's a rather long end. I like to leave a long end sew up. I think that's a little bit too long. And as before with the stitching up, just one piece of our actual crochet ear and then into the body. Pick it up and into the body. Same method as all of them. Just making sure it's on securely. The last one, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little knot there. Make sure it's not going to come undone. Nice and tight. And then threading through 1, 2, and 3. So both of those can now be snipped off because they're not going anywhere, and that was just the ankle one, so we don't need that. So that's a bit more yarn out of the way. So we have one ear. Let's get his other ear sewn on. So that is the one that comes from the centre, and that's just going to be my anchor thread. Decide roughly. Yeah, looks about right. You can find out when I pull it through. Don't do it too tight, flattened his ear. I think that's about right. Then using the other bit, which was our fastening off even part, to stitch it on. When we've done that, we've actually completed the whole of the crochet for this section. The next bit is going to come down to your choice. These back wings are stitched. You don't have to stitch. You can find another way of making the wings if you wish. Because they're felt, they don't really have to be stitched because they're not going to fray. It's just something I prefer to do, and I think it does make a world of difference. There we go, last bit, and to thread it through. Trim off the bits, get the yarn out, pop my needle away. So we have our little bat, but obviously he's minus his wings at the moment. It looks like a little teddy bear, doesn't he, like that? He's a bit of a teddy bear looking bat. So let's have a look what I have here. Now I made myself a little cardboard template. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to add this to my blog, but I'm going to try because it's got to be to size, hasn't it? And that's my worry. I can obviously add a picture or a drawing, but I'm not sure whether it will be to scale. That's something I'm going to have a little play with. So I will try and get that sorted for you. I have some felt here, a couple of needles, even pins, just to hold it in place. Now this particular felt, as you can see, does have a glitter in it. I had some spare over with glitter, so I decided to use it. The only thing is, if you're buying this, it's almost double the price of just plain black. So it is up to you. I got this from Hobbycraft, but it is double the price, so beware of that. They do have some lovely felt though. So I'm popping that on there. Now this is where my yellow pencil came in. If you've got a fabric marker or something like that, that's really good, but I haven't. Well, I have, but I haven't the faintest idea where they are. So I'm inclined to always default to a pale pencil if it's on something like this. And all I'm doing, because this is going to be on the inside, because as you can see, I'm drawing on the non-glittery side. So it doesn't matter if it's a bit wobbly. It just gives you an idea of where you want to cut. last bit. Oh, look at that, that's a bit close. It'll be all right though. So you can see I've got, well, I hope you can see, I can't really see from this angle, but basically I have a yellow outline. I'm going to use these pins to hold the two pieces of felt together, so they're both glittery side inside, because that's the bit I want to show, but it's best to cut it on the opposite side. So I'm going to use these little scissors and create some shapes. There are different ways of making wings. You may know a better way that you prefer, and it might make nicer wings than this. But I do like working with felt. Felt is one of those mediums I feel very comfortable with. That is why I'm doing it. So, nearly there. These little scissors are lovely and sharp, and would you believe it, they're from the pound shop. Sometimes obviously cheap scissors are completely useless, but I bought these thinking I would let the rest of them in the house use it, because I'm fed up of them using my best scissors. So I thought I'll buy some really cheap ones. I tried them out and I'm like, oh, actually they're really nice little scissors. So I might have to try and get myself some more. They're well, you can almost hear as they're cutting through the felt how sharp they are. Right, so I'm going to take the pins out for now. A little bit of fabric there. Turn it round. So now we have glittery sides on both, and I'm going to pop my pins back in because it just helps hold them in place. Now, as I say, you could just leave it as a single, just one piece of felt, and it would make a sort of softer wing, shall we say. Oh, why can't I see it? Oh, I hope my phone's not just died on me. A horrible feeling it might have. We'll carry on for a second and fingers crossed. I think it might just gone into a low mode, so hopefully we'll be all right. But basically, I'm going to now stitch all the way around the little bat. I've already got thread and needle ready. Oh, what a little knot. This is a decision you have to make now, because you can see how that's made a knot because it's quite a long piece of thread. If you use your thread too long, it's likely to knot. But if you're going to use it shorter, you're probably going to have to do another needle's worth. So I'm starting at the bottom, tuck my knot in, I don't want that, holding the two pieces together, I'm just over stitching. It's not a blanket stitch, it's nothing fancy, it's just pure over stitching. I sort of use my nail as a bit of a guide. I've done so many now that I don't have to overthink it. Because it's a black cotton, you get away with it as well. It hides a multitude of sins, but you do want it to be neat. You don't want somebody picking up and going, oh, that's not very neat. Not very nice people if they are doing that, but it's still not nice. Corners you've got to watch, but as I say, it's felt, it's not going to fray. Quickly you can do it. You don't have to do it this quick. Take your time. I enjoy stitching. If I'm stitching normally, I would take it a little bit slower than this, because I do enjoy doing hand stitching. Oh, can you see? That's what happens if we're not careful. It can tangle. I'm not going to go all the way around. I do know it only takes about 10 minutes because I timed it when I made our other little guy over there. But I don't think you want to watch me for 10 minutes stitching around the wings. But basically it makes it nice and thick and chunky. So I'm going to pop that to one side just for a minute and just show you. So here's just been stitched all the way around, and it gives you a nice solid, you know, it's got some weight to it, and I think that's good. When I've done that, the next stage is using the same thread. I've just stitched it, big stitches. I'll just show you on this one. Basically big stitches in, trying to catch up the little bit of wool underneath, and big stitches. So I just sort of shouldn't really use it with this yet thread because it's attached, so it was just a couple of stitches, then some big ones, couple of stitches, and that was it. There was nothing more to the actual sewing up. Now the only reason I have this final piece of crochet cotton here, it is cotton, you can use ribbon, but I do like the crochet cottons because again, lack of fraying and things like that. I've got a very messy table today, haven't I? Right, I'm going to take my wool needle and I'm going to thread it through like a loop, I'm going to take it from the front, let's carefully get the right bit, to the back, not all the way through though. So you've got your 2 loose ends this side, and then I'm going to pick up the loop, pull the loose ends through, and there we go. That's just a little hanger. You don't have to have a hanger on it, but if you were doing it sort of for decoration, I think it's a nice thing to have. Now, I'm hoping I've explained that quite well. I'm a little bit concerned that my camera's gone dark, so I think it's just low power, so I'm hoping it is still recording. Fingers crossed there. But basically, here is our little bat. Hope you enjoy doing him. Please like, subscribe, share, etc, etc. And again, if you want notifications from me, please tick on that little notification bell. Otherwise, it'll just be having case of sort of search for any new projects. Hopefully there's going to be lots of new ideas coming up to Christmas, and hope to see you soon. But thank you for watching today. Thank you.